Okay, so here it goes. I have to get this off my chest because it's been eating me up inside. My CEO whispered to me on his yacht. You're my ideal partner. Let's build a future together. Right as the sun was dipping into the ocean. But I was sitting there pregnant from someone else, and the whole thing felt like a ticking bomb ready to blow up my life. If I said yes, I'd be trapped. If no, who'd know what he'd do next? I'm 30 years old, working as a financial analyst at this mid-sized investment firm in Los Angeles. It's one of those places downtown where everyone's hustling for the next big deal, and I've been there for about 4 years now. Rent's killing me at $3,500 a month for a one-bedroom in Silver Lake, and with student loans still hanging over my head, I can't afford to mess up. But here's the vulnerability. I'm 3 months pregnant from a fling with an ex-colleague who left the company last year. We broke it off clean, no drama, but now this? I haven't told anyone at work yet, because I'm scared it'll tank my career. Mornings are rough with nausea, and I'm popping ginger chews just to get through meetings. And it started innocently enough, or so I thought. My boss, let's call him Mark. He's this charismatic guy in his late 40s, widowed a few years back, always dressed sharp with that expensive cologne that lingers in the elevator. He began paying extra attention to me during team huddles, praising my reports in front of everyone. At first, it felt like mentorship. You've got real potential, he'd say, and I'd nod, thinking it was professional. But then came the late-night emails about strategizing over coffee, and I'd feel this pit in my stomach. And that's when I realized this wasn't just work talk. NTHE first red flag hit during a client dinner last month. We were at this fancy spot in Beverly Hills, and he kept refilling my wine glass, even though I was sipping water pretending it was vodka tonic to hide the pregnancy. His hand brushed mine under the table, and I pulled away, but he just smiled like it was nothing. The smell of his Napa Valley wine was strong, mixed with the salty ocean air drifting in from outside. Later, he texted me at midnight. Great night, let's do more of that. I stared at my phone in the dark, heart racing. But everything changed when he invited me on that yacht trip. NHE framed it as a team-building retreat off the coast. But it was just a handful of us. Me, him, and a couple of senior execs. We set sail from Marina del Rey on a Friday afternoon in August 2025, the boat rocking gently, with the waves slapping against the hull. I figured it'd be networking, maybe some deal discussions. But as the evening wore on, he pulled me aside on the deck. The breeze was cool on my skin, carrying that salty tang, and the laughter from the others faded into the background. He leaned in close, his hand on my arm feeling too warm, too possessive. I've been thinking about us, he said. That was the moment I knew. This was crossing lines. And then he dropped the bomb, offering me a stake in the company, talking about a future together like it was a done deal. You can't refuse this. It's your chance at everything, he said, his voice low over the plusk of the waves. I froze, my mind flashing to the pregnancy test strip hidden in my purse back in the cabin. What if he found out? The public part came during dinner on the deck. He stood up, glass in hand, and toasted me as his key partner, winking while colleagues exchanged glances and whispered. The overhead lights cast long shadows, and I forced a smile, but inside, panic was building. That yacht dinner stuck with me, replaying in my head like a bad movie. I was gripping my water glass so hard I thought it might crack, the condensation cold against my fingers, while Mark's words about "oosh" hung in the air like his cologne. I kept thinking about that pregnancy test in my purse, tucked in the cabin below deck. It was like a secret anchor, pulling me down every time he smiled at me. Back at the office the next week, things got weirder. Mark started calling me into his office for quick check-ins, but they were never about work. He'd lean back in his leather chair, the city skyline glowing through the window, and talk about our potential together. Once he slid a company contract across his desk, hinting at a promotion with a 20% stake if I stayed loyal. His voice had this edge when he said, "You can't refuse this. It's your chance at everything." It wasn't a suggestion, it felt like a demand. My stomach churned, and not just from the pregnancy. That was when I noticed. He kept glancing at my phone on the desk. I started catching more red flags. One night, I stayed late to finish a report. The office quiet except for the hum of the AC. I saw Mark's name pop up on my Slack at 11:47 p.m. "You're working too hard. Let me help you relax." My heart sank. I didn't reply, but the next morning, he acted like nothing happened, handing me a Starbucks latte, same as he drank, steaming with that bitter coffee smell. It felt like a test, like he was watching how I'd react. And then I saw it, a notification on my phone about a doctor's appointment for my ultrasound, right as he was standing nearby. Did he see it? I couldn't tell, but his smile tightened, NTHE public moment came at our quarterly board meeting in September 2025. We were in this sleek conference room downtown, all glass and chrome, with the board members sipping bottled San Pellegrino. Mark presented our latest projections, then turned to me, saying, "This is all thanks to our rising star." He put his hand on my shoulder, his grip firm, and the room went quiet. I could feel everyone staring, the air heavy with their whispers. My face burned, and I mumbled a thank you, but inside I was screaming. That was the moment I knew. I couldn't keep dodging this, and I started questioning everything. Was he just being friendly? Or was this something else? I kept replaying his words, his touches, the way he looked at me. My pregnancy was making me paranoid, or maybe it was making me see clearly. I couldn't risk my job, not with a baby coming and bills piling up. But staying silent felt like betraying myself. Every time I walked into the office, I clutched my purse tighter, that pregnancy test strip inside like a hidden grenade. I started wondering if he'd figure it out before I could decide what to do. And if he did, what then? Would he use it against me? I needed a plan, but I felt so alone, sitting in my cubicle with the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, wondering how I got here. I couldn't shake the feeling that Mark was watching me closer than ever. Every time I walked past his office, I'd catch him glancing up from his laptop, his eyes lingering a second too long. The air in there always smelled like his cologne, woodsy, expensive, suffocating. It was like he was marking his territory, and I was stuck in it. My purse, with that pregnancy test strip inside, felt heavier every day, like it was screaming my secret to the world. And then came the second big escalation. We were prepping for a big investor pitch in Santa Monica, and Mark insisted I join him for a strategy session at his penthouse office the night before. I showed up, nervous, the elevator ride up feeling like forever, the mirrored walls reflecting my anxious face. He greeted me with a glass of wine I couldn't drink, the ruby liquid catching the chandelier light. He sat too close on the leather couch, talking about our vision for the company, but his hand brushed my knee and he said, "I know your little secret, but we can fix it together." My blood ran cold. Did he mean the pregnancy? Or something else? That was what I realized. He was playing a game I hadn't signed up for, and I started noticing other things. He'd comment on my Instagram posts, private ones from my locked account. How did he even see them? I'd hear the ping of a new message from him at odd hours, like 1 a.m., always vague but pushy. "Thinking about you. Let's talk soon." I stopped responding, but that only made him double down. At a team happy hour at a rooftop bar in West Hollywood, with city lights twinkling below, he pulled me aside and whispered, "You're too sensitive to handle this alone. Let me take care of you." It sounded like a lifeline, but it felt like a leash. Colleagues were nearby, sipping IPAs, oblivious to the tension. I wanted to scream, but I just nodded, my throat tight. That's when the turn happened. I was back at the office late one night, the hum of the copier, the only sound in the empty space. I found an email from a colleague, Sarah, who'd left the firm a year ago. She'd heard rumors about Mark's favorites and sent me a cryptic warning. "Check his shared drive. You're not the first." My hand shook as I opened the company server on my laptop. Buried in a folder marked Old Projects, I found a file with my name and a draft email from Mark to HR calling me unstable and overly emotional. It was dated the day after the yacht trip. That was the moment I knew. He was setting me up, and I couldn't believe it. This guy, who everyone thought was a grieving widower turned visionary, was building a case against me. The pregnancy test in my purse suddenly felt like my only leverage. A truth he didn't fully know but could use to control me. I saved a screenshot of the email, my fingers cold against the keyboard. I didn't know who to trust, but Sarah's message gave me a spark. Maybe I wasn't alone. Maybe I could fight back. But how? I sat there in the dark office, the city lights flickering outside, wondering if I had the guts to do what came next. I was done feeling like prey. That email from Mark to HR calling me unstable was burning a hole in my mind. I kept the screenshot on my phone, hidden in a locked folder, right next to a photo of that pregnancy test strip. It was like carrying 2 bombs in my purse. One personal, one professional. I knew I had to move carefully, but I wasn't going to let him control me anymore. First, I reached out to Sarah. We met at a quiet cafe in Echo Park, the kind with mismatched mugs and the smell of burnt espresso in the air. She told me Mark had a pattern, picking favorites, showering them with attention, then discarding them when they didn't play along. She'd been one too, until she quit after he tried to push her into a corner. "He's good at making you feel special," she said, stirring her latte, "until you're not." That was when I decided I wasn't going to be his next casualty. I started building my case. I recorded a conversation with Mark during one of his check-ins. He didn't know my phone was on, tucked in my blazer pocket, catching every word. He leaned across his desk, the leather creaking, and said, "You're too sensitive to handle this alone. Let me take care of you." It was the same line from the bar, but this time I had it on tape. I also emailed HR anonymously using a burner account, flagging potential misconduct without naming myself. My heart was pounding as I hit send, the click of the mouse echoing in my quiet apartment. But would they take it seriously? NTHE countermove felt risky, but I kept going. I applied for jobs at other firms, quietly updating my LinkedIn and reaching out to old contacts. I wasn't going to let Mark hold my career hostage. I also confided in one trusted colleague, Jenna, who'd been at the yacht dinner and noticed the weird vibes. She promised to back me up if it came to that. Every step felt like walking a tightrope, the ocean breeze from that yacht still haunting me. What if he found out I was pushing back? That was the moment I realized I had to be ready for anything. NTHE public scene hit at our annual gala in October 2025, held at a swanky hotel in downtown LA. The ballroom was all chandeliers and clinking glasses, the air thick with perfume and ambition. Mark gave a speech, praising the team, but his eyes kept finding me in the crowd. Then he called me up to accept a Team Achievement Award. I walked up, heels clicking on the polished floor, feeling every stare. He handed me the plaque, his fingers grazing mine, and whispered, "This is just the start for us." The crowd clapped, but Jenna caught my eye, nodding slightly. I knew I wasn't alone anymore. I went home that night, my hands shaking as I replayed the recording on my phone. The plaque sat on my counter, a shiny lie next to my purse with that test strip. I was terrified, but something in me was shifting. I wasn't just fighting for my job now, I was fighting for my future, for my baby, for myself. But could I really take him down without losing everything? I lay awake, the city humming outside, wondering what the next move would cost me. The gala was the tipping point. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine, not with Mark's whispers and that damn email labeling me unstable. I had the recording, Sarah's warning, and Jenna's support, but it still felt like I was holding a live wire. The pregnancy test strip in my purse was my reminder. I wasn't just fighting for me anymore. I had to protect my kids' future too. And I took my evidence to HR, but I did it smart. I booked a meeting with the head of HR, a no-nonsense woman named Diane, in early November 2025. I walked into her office, the fluorescent lights harsh overhead, and laid it all out. The recording, the screenshot, Sarah's story. I didn't mention the pregnancy. That was mine to keep for now. Diane listened, her pen tapping softly on her desk, the sound sharp in the quiet room. "This is serious," she said, her face unreadable. That was when I knew they couldn't ignore this. NHR launched an internal investigation, and I kept my head down. Mark didn't suspect anything at first. He kept up his usual routine, dropping by my desk with that cologne cloud and a smile that made my skin crawl. But I noticed the shift. He stopped calling me into his office, and his Slack messages dried up. The office felt different too, like people were watching him now, not me. One day, I overheard two execs in the break room, their voices low over the hiss of the coffee machine, saying Mark was under review. My heart jumped. Was this actually working? NTHE resolution came faster than I expected. At a board meeting in December, Diane presented the findings. I wasn't there, but Jenna filled me in later. Mark had been confronted with my recording and other complaints. Turns out, Sarah wasn't the only one with a story. He tried to spin it, claiming it was all misunderstood mentorship. But the board wasn't buying it. They voted to remove him as CEO, effective immediately. Jenna said he left the meeting red-faced, his fancy suit looking out of place as he stormed out. The company sent an email that afternoon, announcing his departure to pursue other opportunities. I read it at my desk, the screen glowing in the dim office, and felt a weight lift. And I'm still processing what happened. I kept my job, and HR assured me there'd be no retaliation. I finally told Jenna about the pregnancy, and she hugged me, promising to throw me the best baby shower in LA. I'm due in March 2026, and I've got a new job lined up at a smaller firm, one with better maternity leave and no creepy bosses. That plaque from the gala sits on my shelf now, a reminder of how close I came to losing myself. The pregnancy test strip? I still have it, tucked in a drawer, a symbol of the secret that pushed me to fight. Looking back, I wonder if I could have handled it differently. Mark's charm had everyone fooled, but I saw through it. Eventually. I'm proud I stood up, but it wasn't easy, and I'm still a little scared of what's next. Have you ever had to hide something huge from your boss to protect yourself? How did you decide when to speak up? I'd love to hear your stories, because honestly, I'm still figuring out how I got through mine.